Jed Hurst stalked up the stairs. He heard Haley's music, a hot salsa, mi cascabel, with trumpets and drums and the urgent, enticing lyrics. Was he the only person in the whole family who saw what was happening? Ever since Dad moved out and married Shell, Mom didn't want to hear a word about Shell, but he couldn't explain what was going on with Haley without talking about Shell. Besides, Mom and Haley were always crossways, especially after Haley got buddy-buddy with Shell. He had a flash of adult understanding. Maybe Haley tried to act like Shell because she thought that's what Dad admired. Maybe Haley was trying to get back at Mom because she divorced Dad. As for Dad, he'd gone from a guy with the hots for Shell to disappearing. Not for real. Dad was actually next door, in an even bigger, splashier house, but it was like he pulled on an invisible suit when Shell was in the room. Yesterday, Jed followed him out to his car, tried to tell him, but the minute Jed started talking about Shell, Dad's face got that closed look, and he peeled out of the driveway. Dad seemed to spend more time than ever on the vagabond, nosing out into the sound by himself. Somebody had to do something before it was too late. Jed reached Haley's door. He knocked hard 3 times, turned the knob. The door was locked. "Haley, let me in!" He pounded, didn't stop. He didn't hear a click, but finally the panel opened maybe an inch. "Get lost, Jed." "Haley, you gotta let me in. Kevin's mom and dad saw you." Abruptly, the door was flung wide. Jed stared at his sister as the drums boomed and trumpets blared. He didn't know what bothered him most, the makeup that made her look 30 instead of 15, the too tight red sateen blouse, or the silver lame leggings. "You look like a slut." She tossed her head, rolled her eyes, heaved a dramatic sigh. It was an echo of Shell the day Mom ordered her out of their guest house. Uncle Bucky had brought her with him on a visit. Uncle Bucky claimed to be a Hollywood producer, but he'd heard his dad say that Uncle Bucky was just a guy on the fringe who'd managed to meet some people because he had money. Dad and Uncle Bucky always clashed. Jed didn't see where either of them had ever amounted to much. They both lived off their trust funds, and what was the difference between hanging around Hollywood and spending all your time on your boat? He wasn't going to be like that. Maybe he'd go to Clemson, and if everything broke right, he'd be a golf pro. He was going to be somebody, do something with his life. He wasn't going to be a fake like Uncle Bucky. Dad wasn't a fake, but he didn't have to work, so he'd never tried to do anything. He was a good sailor, but so were a lot of rich guys. As for Uncle Bucky, every time he visited, there was trouble. He thought the island was backward and stupid. Jed wanted to ask him why he bothered to come, but he knew the answer. Uncle Bucky wasn't a big deal in Hollywood, but on the island he bragged about his Hollywood connections and how he had lunch with some big star or other. The last time he'd brought Shell Vitale, his new discovery, and nothing had been worth a damn ever since. Of course, he hadn't come back, not since Mom and Dad divorced and Dad married Shell. Only a year ago, but everything had been lousy ever since. Especially Haley. "Take that stuff off. Where'd you get clothes like that?" Haley gave another long-suffering, world-weary sigh. "So plebeian, utterly bourgeois, mired in mediocrity, juvenile." Her dark eyes gleamed with malice. "Pimply." Jed hated the splotches on his face. He'd popped a yellow zit near his right eye this morning, and the blemish was all he saw when he looked in the mirror. Usually, Haley's taunt would have been enough to send him off in a rage, but he kept on, dogged, determined, scared. "The Buccaneer Bar's a dive. You're underage. You danced with guys you'd never met. Kevin's mom and dad were on a scavenger hunt for a beer coaster last night, and they couldn't believe it when they saw you." Haley struck a pose, overdrawn lips pouty, shoulders lifted, arms akimbo, one hip higher. "They should mind their own business. What right did they have to say something to the manager? Now I can't go back. The manager told me to take a hike." "How'd you even know about a place like that?" Haley